Hello, 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 everybody. How are you guys? I think I'm a minute late. I apologize. I am just getting set up here. Had to run and do something real quick, and then I created a little bit of lateness. So I apologize if you are coming on live and you waited. So I thank you for that. So for all I'm going to introduce myself. So for some of you guys that don't know me yet, it's your first time seeing me. My name is Patty, and I'm an empath with a lot of abilities. I'm an empath with all 8 types of abilities for an empath. And so if you haven't watched the series, the intro to number 3 on this, I would go back and watch that and catch up, because hopefully these will answer some of your questions. If you're questioning some things about yourself being an empath, about maybe even some abilities that you might have that you just have been afraid to share with someone. Maybe you have the gift of hearing, maybe you have the gift of seeing, maybe you have the gift of clairvoyance, maybe you have whatever gift it is, but you're questioning it, or that you are fearful of it. Because a lot of people who are new empaths, they think that they're being cursed. I know I did, but I know there's a lot of empaths out there, because I do talk to a lot of empaths. And so there is a fear that comes along with it. So go through the intro to the number 3. They're about 30 minutes long, so I would hope you'd watch this, because this one here that I'm going to talk about is part 4 of 4. And what this is going to talk about is daily challenges that we have. And it might also answer some of your questions about your abilities as well, again. But you might miss some of the things if you haven't watched the other 3. So you can either subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and know when I'm on live when I'm doing these things. Or you can actually, I think I forgot to put the link, but I'll put the link down below when I do the replay of at least the intro, where you can go back to that. But we do like to have new subscribers, so if you subscribe, you'll also be in connection with when I do my intuitive tarot readings too. So and I will be touching on the base of that, because at the tail end of this, just because people are questioning it, and I'll definitely explain it there, especially from a spiritual aspect, because this is for the spiritual growth videos. So if I jiggle around a little bit, bear with me. My back is out, so I'm a little much in pain. I'm much in pain, so bear with me through this. So as we have talked through these, I'm just going to touch base. Now, the last one we talked about energy vampires. We talked about energy sensitivities. We've talked about all the different aspects of that. We've talked about intuitiveness, the different levels of what intuitive. I've told stories of paranormal stuff, but also 2 true stories of how I learned about my abilities and awakenings and stuff like that. So what it's like to live knowing that you're empath. Okay, so I think if you're brand new at this is going to help you, because you'll skip through a lot of the steps. So we grow. We actually are born with empath abilities. We're born as an intuitive person. Every single human being on this earth has intuitiveness. So it's up to you if you want to grow those or not. Or sometimes, like me, they just start coming through. Now, we can stop them from coming through, or we can allow them to come through and grow them and understand them. So as I mentioned, as a young child, those were coming in all the time. And as I grew in my 20s, a little bit more, in my 30s, a little bit more. And now they're really growing, but they still continue to grow day by day by day. So the struggle is, either there's 2 things you can do. You can either grow and love yourself for them, or you can actually hate them and hinder and squash and live in fear of them, and that may hinder your growth in your journey where the divine wants you to go. These are divine given gifts. Now, divine given, if you want to call God given, divine given, creator given, these are supernatural gifts that were given. For me, I'm like, why would I slap the creator in the face saying, don't give me something I don't want? Because he knows better than me. So through each day that I live, I have to figure out, how can I live with this, be comfortable with it, be happy and joyful with it, and go through the challenges and the struggles with it. The way that I get through mine is I look at this as a gift. I look at somebody, it's like if you were to be given a gift and you told the person, well, I don't want this. And then that person standing in front of you, you're like, wow, okay, I'll never give you a gift again. That's sort of the way I look at this. So how can I and why can I keep moving day and day? Well, the thing is with this, I look at it as a positive thing. And it's taken me many, many years. Now, remember back in video 1, I said that I stayed in the closet all the way into my 50s. So I really wasn't living with it. I was squishing it. I was squashing it. I wasn't allowing the full blossom. I wasn't allowed that flower to open up. So I allowed myself to squish it. And I squished it in silence. And I squished it in privacy. I squished it in aloneness. I squished it in not learning about it. I squished it in living my life for somebody else or how somebody else wanted me to live my life. That was the way I coped with it. It wasn't really the best way because I didn't understand that this gift was not for me. This gift was given to me to share, to grow, to inspire, to motivate, to help somebody in their life process, wherever the divine wanted me to take it. So each day I look at it differently. So as you're growing in this, there are so many challenges. So I'm going to share with you a couple, and then I'll go into how you can have some tools and tips. One of the biggest challenges, you're going to feel alone. Now, are you going to feel lonely or are you going to feel alone? So loneliness is very different than alone. So if you're feeling lonely, that is an external thing that you are looking for someone to fill a hole to make you feel whole again or whatever it is. That is very different than being alone. So when you're lonely, you may say, well, I'm walking in this empath or I'm walking in all this by myself. Yes, you are alone in this process with the divine. You and the divine need to work on this because this is the divine giving you this gift. But you don't need to be lonely in the process. These are tools and things, and that's why Get Balanced 2020 is so important to understand the mental capacity of your brain. Because this is your brain saying, I'm lonely. It's not your spirit, because your spirit is never, ever, ever alone. So your brain is saying, I'm lonely. I don't have anybody. So this is an external look. This is circumstances. You're looking for happiness outside yourself. You're looking for not being lonely outside yourself. So do understand that being an empath or having these abilities, you are alone in this process. Now, can you be alone and okay in your skin, in your self-being? A lot of people can't, and the reason why they can't, and this is where fear steps in on a daily challenge. This is a daily thing. If you are not comfortable in your own self, in your own being, and love yourself, know everything about you, then you will look for loneliness out, or you will look for happiness outside because you are lonely. Now, if you have done your shadow work, if you have done your light work on yourself, if you have done your trauma work, your PTSD work, whatever trauma you had in the past to keep you squashed and hindered, or even if you have faked it until you made it and you are still alone, but you're okay with it, then you are on the right path to being okay with empath abilities or being an empath. The reason why is you will, as you grow in your experiences and your levels of awakening, you will find that you want to be alone more and more and more. As we talked about, I think in 3, there's a lot of noises, a lot of outer things that we have to really just protect ourselves from, because if we don't, we'll absorb all that negative energy, we'll absorb those negative vibrations. And so we actually become very comfortable and peaceful within ourselves by ourselves. If you're not comfortable with that, you may live in fear and not want to bring those abilities out. So you have to learn and grow. So maybe you need some coaching. Maybe you need some counseling depending on the severity of your trauma of your past. Not everybody has trauma, but we all are broken in some way. So I would say that that is pretty much one of the biggest things, because you're going to have awakenings and you're going to I can't talk to anybody about this. I can't do, if I talk to somebody, the next thing is they're going to think I'm crazy. So you will find in your aloneness that you have to find sorry about that. And I say that to the divine because the divine is your source, your number one source. Your resources are things here on earth that you look for to help you understand and get through things. So to understand that very, very important point. A lot of people think that their source is earthly stuff, people telling them what to do, education telling them how to learn. It's not. Your source is the divine, because that's where your answers, that's where everything that you have as a being comes from first and foremost. But away from that, you will find that you have to do your own research, because every single empath may have similar abilities, but they are not the same. So I have audio. I hear all the time. Now, whether I sometimes have to decipher who that is, if I want to hear it or if I don't. Okay. So, if I were to go and say to somebody, hey, did you hear that? Did you hear them say blah, blah, blah? They're like, oh, she's a little wacky. Or they might even, in the very first video, you might have to go to a psychiatrist and check and see if you're a little schizophrenic because you're hearing voices. If you go back to video 1, you'll see what I'm talking about. But the thing is, you're not. You're not crazy. So when you bring it out to these earthly beings, then they can actually begin to guide you in a direction where the divine really doesn't want you to go. So we have to really be careful, because when we walk in this alone, then we have to be mindful who we share any information with. So number 1, we have to learn that we are going to be alone in this process with the divine. Number 2, you really have to be mindful who you talk to, even when it comes to your family. I have a friend who actually is a medium, who talks to people that have been reincarnated, who have had past lives, who have had, and yada, yada, yada. And she was in her 40s when her abilities came out. She'd had them all her life now, but she had to squish them because she didn't know how to handle it. She thought she was maybe a little crazy. She didn't know how to do it. But when I first met this woman, she was the one that said, you're the one that brought me out because of my abilities. I didn't even know I was doing it. Again, this is not for me. My abilities are for somebody else. But lo and behold, in her 40s, she came out as a medium. Her family, all of her family thought she'd lost her marbles. So this, again, you have to be mindful who you share any of this with. This is a daily thing. When I decided to come out of the closet as an empath, the first person that I was going to tell, because they sort of already knew what was going on with me, was my daughter. Now, she's in her 20s, but she has seen me through her life grow up. But she has also been witness to a lot of things as well. She knew Mom was a little different. So when I came out a year and a half ago about I'm not living my life, going to be living my life for somebody else, I'm not going to fake it till I make it, because these awakenings were screaming so loud to get out. The divine was talking to me over and over and over and over to allow him to let these abilities come out. And so when I told my daughter, then I also was sort of in fear. Is she going to think her mom's really bonkers? Is she going to be okay with her mom doing research even more about subjects of the paranormal, or if you want to call them superpowers, or if you want to call them empathic abilities, clairvoyance, these kind of things. Even tarot. Tarot can be done by anybody. Tarot can be done. You can study the cards, research the cards. This can be done by anybody. And I'll explain about tarot at the very end. But the thing is, was she going to think I was crazy? Now you're putting yourself in a position of vulnerability. Are you ready for that? Because if you're not, you have to live this daily life of living in the closet, per se. And I hate to say it, this is how a lot of people come out of the closet for being gay and things. You live in this fear. Will they like me? Will they understand? Will they not? But as my life and my awakenings happened, I got to a point, and I'm at an age that, you know what, whatever you think, I hope you will accept it, but if you don't, it's okay. It's not your journey. It is not your life. And that's where you have to get to the point of understanding this is your journey. These are your gifts. These are your abilities. And whoever is in with you that loves you enough to allow you to be the person you were created to be, they will be there. If not, they never should have been there probably in the first place. So this is something, a challenge that you have as an empath. When do I tell somebody? Who do I tell? And how far should I tell it? Right? Okay. So these are a daily thing if you have not come out. So a year and a half ago, I'm not quite sure what happened. I just know that the divine was working in my life and said, you know what? It's time. This is time. I've prepared you all your life. I even heard those words. It's time. Go and teach. I have prepared you all your life for this. And I'm like, what the heck is he talking about? And so you're also at some point questioning yourself. What does he mean? What is he talking about? Who am I going to teach? What am I going to teach? Am I going to teach nutrition and fitness? That's what I went to school for. Am I going to teach about Japan because I lived there? Am I supposed to teach about the Japanese culture? What am I supposed to teach? Been to Africa? Do I live? And I know African marriage. I know about K-1 visas. What do you want me to teach? Let alone did I know he was talking about spirituality. I had no clue until one day. But the thing is, this is what I'm talking about for you. When are you going to tell it? How are you going to tell it? And are you ready to tell it? This is a daily struggle. It is a daily struggle. And I will give you 2 tips and 2 tools. Is that you have to learn where your fear is coming from and learn that you love yourself and that what God created you to be and how to be is the way he planned your journey. And the more that you hold it back, the more you hold back your harvest, your blessings, your rewards, whatever you want to call it. So, and you're also being selfish because at this point, the abilities and the gifts were not meant for just to stop at you. It was meant for you to share, help, grow, inspire, teach. Some of us can't do that. Some of us like, well, I just want to know what it's all about. I think it's fun. I just want to use it. Use it in what manner? For a good manner or a destructive manner? Because you can use them for both. Okay. But the other thing too is you have to sort of be ready for that on a daily level. And you have to be talking to yourself on a daily level in love and light. And at some point, you're going to not care what anybody else thinks, because it's going to be such a strong buildup in you that you're just going to want to say, you know what, this is my life. It's time. Could I have done that in my 20s, 30s? No, I couldn't, because I had too much garbage that I was working on, inner self work. I had too much baggage, too much hurt, too much anger, too much bitter. When you can't get rid of that, then you can't grow your abilities. So again, coaching, getting a counselor, but I would say a spiritual counselor or a spiritual coach, an empath coach, something like that is what you would probably want to do, just to get yourself started, get some grounding and foundation. Because here's the other thing. If you do come out, I never ever intended to do videos. In fact, my daughter is still blown away, because you are then labeled. Are you ready to be labeled? Because for me, I don't care what society says about me. I don't care what they think about me. All I do care is my pleasing the divine? Is this what he wants me to do with this? And every single day I get up, before my feet touch that floor, I'm like, thank you for bringing me into one more day. Thank you for allowing me to have breath and my physical abilities. Now, who do you want me to touch today? Who do you want me to teach today? Who do you want me to mentor today? This is not about me. This is about being the conduit for the divine. I hope that makes sense. And if it doesn't, you're very, very welcome to comment, subscribe, email me, whatever. I would love to help you out on that. But you are going to be labeled. So who knows, in my life, there is still some people that do not know, and I'll talk about that here in a few minutes, because they will not understand, they will judge, they will label you, they will pray for you, they'll bring even out the rosaries, because it's not understood. Okay? And so you will get a label. Now, I grew up Catholic, then became a Baptist, then went to Japan and lived for years and learned about Buddhism and Shintoism. Oh, God forbid I come home and be a Buddhist, right? My mother was pretty open. So I think if I came home as a Buddhist, it wouldn't matter to her. Because in all reality, I have boxes of journals I really should be going through, because I think she kept her abilities hidden. Because when she passed, I found crystals, or I found Tarlene, I found things. I'm like, well, why would she have this? She was very much a Christian woman. That was the label she gave herself, because of people that would not understand. And so when we don't understand something, we fear it. And so if you're not strong enough to explain it, then sometimes it's better not to say anything at that moment, or until it actually comes out. Because of my abilities, like I said, I've lived in Japan, I've gone to Africa, I know people from the Caribbean, I know people from all over Asia, and still some of them, they don't know all of my abilities, but the ones that didn't even ask what I was, in fact, a gentleman from the Caribbean, he goes, "Are you a witch?" Because he knew I had something going on, but he couldn't put his finger on it because I knew things ahead of time. So his thought process is, oh, in the Caribbean, these are our voodoo doctors, or these are witch doctors, or that's his process. So I'm like, well, if you think I'm a witch, I'm a witch. But I'm not going to share some of that with them, because if they're really, again, if you deal with cultures, that, oh my goodness, that has to be something very, very delicate because of the beliefs that they do have. So like in Africa, they do have the voodoo doctors. They do have ritualists. They do have some pretty dark stuff going on there. So you have to be mindful. Same with the Asian culture. So my daughter's half Asian, and the culture that her dad is from is actually very superstitious, especially when I told you the story about my brother passing on and the ghost story and things like that. You have to be really not only mindful of yourself, but as the divine tells us, to be compassionate, to be loving, to be caring of others. So we have to be delicate in who we share this information with. All right. So those are some of the things. You're going to be alone. You're going to be called crazy. You're going to be called weird. You're gonna face whether you can handle the loneliness or not. Now, I will tell you, there are some days that I even question. Okay, so this is another thing. You are going to question yourself. Because as a new awakening comes open, for example, my first awakening was hearing. And then my second awakening was sensory to auras. I could read auras, feel auras. And then I actually had a sight one time. But my very first one was hearing. So then you're going to question yourself, who is that? Who just said that? Even though you know something was said, and the information, you could back it up with facts. Remember my story at Costco about catching the shoplifter in number 1? And I told you about that. Go back and listen to it. It's a very interesting story. But the thing is, I questioned at that time, because that was the first time I heard something, that who is this? Who's telling me this information? Because I didn't understand the divine's voice yet for me. You will understand and grow the more that you hear who is actually of light and who is not. And that is what's really, really important to differentiate, what do you call it? I can't even see the word. To decipher who is of light and who's not. Extremely, extremely important. Because like I said, the divine asked me to go and teach. Okay, that's sort of like a command kind of thing, right? So usually commands aren't given so much unless they're of dark. There's suggestions. I would like you, because you have free will. The divine gives you free will to go do it or not, right? So, but if there is a demand there, go do it, go do it, go do it, go do it, then that could be very of a darker, lower vibration. So you got to be really, really careful. And that's what my fear was, hearing this voice in Costco, because I was being told to do something over and over and over. And until I listened to it, it wouldn't go away. But what I found out that was the divine's voice, because he was trying to have me intervene in somebody's journey because they were headed down the wrong path. They were headed way down the wrong path. And you want to listen to that story in one. But that's what I'm talking about. You have to know the difference between the voices and things like that. So you're going to question yourself in some of these. You're going to question yourself maybe in seeing, did I see that? Maybe that was a shadow. Maybe that was the sunlight coming through the window. Well, no, the window, it's dark out, so why would it come through there? You'll begin to question yourself, and do question yourself. Because then you can ask divine, was that of the light? If it was of the light, you can allow it in. If it wasn't, you want to get it away. Definitely want to get it away. And that's all for a different time, but you will question yourself. It's okay to question yourself. And it's just part of the daily process. Let me tell you, once you allow your freedom of your abilities, you will question every single day something. Is that of you? Was that of the divine? And you will begin to speak to the divine all the time. Some people say, oh yeah, I talk to him once a day. Or, no, let me tell you, he's right here all the time. And it's just part of the process. Now, sometimes your family is going to say, aren't you getting a little overboard with this? Aren't you getting a little, too much into this? No, it's not, because you're learning. You're researching. You're trying to get the information. But I will warn you, do not go to your family for validation, because they're not going to understand, because you don't have that ability. you don't have it, or they don't have that ability. So they don't understand. Unless somebody is awoken and then has that same ability, then they're going to come to you and ask, because now you become their mentor. Does that make sense? So these are challenges. These are issues that I have with every day. Sometimes when we question ourselves, and especially I'm going to share with you in this part, I'm not going to try to make this much longer, but when we're going through challenges, like we're in the pandemic, we're going through rough roads, we're going up the mountain, and it's just getting higher and higher and higher. When those negative energies are pushing on you as hard as you can, this can be, for me, I'd understand why the divine has given me a struggle after struggle after struggle. If you guys know the Bible and the Bible of Job, that's me. It's like when one struggle ends another, and sometimes they overlap, and sometimes they just never stop. It's just because he knows I have that capability, that perseverance, that resilience, in faith in him that everything's going to turn around. I know that for a fact. But the thing is that as you go up that struggle, that mountain, it actually becomes harder and harder to stay positive. There are days where you're just not going to be positive. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to crumble. It's okay to ask the divine and lean on him, because you just don't understand. Ask for wisdom. Ask for wisdom, because that is what you need to understand. So when you're crumbled and you're crying and you're on the floor and you're frustrated and you're confused, you're literally confused. You don't understand, because remember, this is not of the head, but our head is trying to process everything, and it's overloading our brain. Our spirit can handle it, but our head cannot. Tell the divine, slow it down. I want this, but the information is coming in too fast. It's like when I do my tarot readings and my intuitive tarot readings, and I'm hearing stuff and it's coming in all over the place, because it's not only the divine. I ask the divine, he's my source, but he may send me resources, other people coming through, or maybe there's a plot thought, or maybe there's a download, or maybe there is something, and it's coming in so fast. I'm trying to read all the cards and I'm trying to put it all together, and that's why there's so many scenarios. Just say, slow it down. Slow it down. So those are things that you can offer and ask him in those times that you're crumbling. There was a time, I'll tell you, and I'm not ashamed to tell you, because we all have them. I was facing homelessness. I was standing in the shower, butt naked, taking a shower, and I crumbled to my knees because I had no more resources here on earth to go to. Even though he's my number one source, I went to him and I said, I don't know what to do. I have no idea. I have no more resources. I am out. And we call that surrendering, okay? But the thing is, within a day, there was resource, and I didn't have to leave my home. This is happening in the pandemic. So as you're going up that mountain, don't give up. Stay positive. Ask for wisdom. Ask for guidance. And do not go anywhere other your friends and all that kind of stuff. Go to a quiet place. Go to a quiet room. Go to your car. Go take a walk. Put your headphones. Look busy, but have no music on. And just talk. Meditate. Talk. Pray. A lot of people think, well, I don't know how to pray. I don't know how to pray. Well, what you do is you just talk. Literally, you just talk. There is no right way to pray. Well, I'll take that back. Some of my Christian pastors, you're praying wrong. There is no right way to pray, no wrong way to pray. Just pray, because that's your communication between divine and you. Or meditate. Meditate, same thing. Same thing, only in different manners, different ways of doing things. All right? So just get ready. And again, that's why I'm here. This is what the divine has put me here. I am here as a support. I'm here as a resource. I'm here as a coach. I'm here as whatever you need. You have a question, just need it. It's free. It's free to you. And so if there's anything that you question, please email me, subscribe to my channel, because I do everything live as much as I can. My daughter thinks I'm nuts, but I do it because I want to connect with my viewers. I get the energies this way. She doesn't understand, so you can't go to a human being to understand it, because I need to connect the energies and feel if there is somebody on there that needs help, then I will, especially even in my readings. Ask me a question. I will almost stop some readings and answer it if it's really of deadly importance, but I will wait till the end and answer them. But lastly, before we go, okay, intuitive tarot. Now remember, I grew up Catholic. I went to become a Baptist. I belong actually to an African American Baptist church, and I do believe in parts of the Bible. I do believe in God. I do believe that Jesus was a man walking the earth. He died for our sins. I get that, but I also understand that there is more to life than the Bible only. That is my foundation. But there is more, because if I go to and here's the people that you can't really share this with. If you're a Christian, you cannot share it with your Christian friends. Unfortunately, because they will say that this is of the devil, this is of the negative, this is of demons, this is of whatever. God gave you intuition and these abilities to help, to lift, to grow, to love, to walk in truth, to walk in righteousness. He didn't give you these abilities to destruct and destroy. If you've got those, then you picked up, yes, the negative and the demons from somewhere along the way, and that has to be changed. But God gave us this ability of light and love and truth. They're not going to understand that. So for many, many years, even as a child, I wanted to learn tarot, but I was terrified to until my chains broke. I had no plans on doing a YouTube channel, no plans on doing tarot, because I personally don't like my picture taken. Don't take a picture of me. Don't put me in a video. I was so unhappy with my body and who I was and all the crap that happened to me. And I lived more like not a victim, but fear. So I pushed that all aside. But let me tell you something. A lot of people do tarot differently, and I never poo-poo how anybody does their tarot. That's their journey. That's their life. But for an intuitive tarotist, as myself, a reader, here's what I do, and I don't expect everybody to understand it. Tarot can be read by anybody. It's just a study of the cards. And in fact, tarot is just actually a word of the unknown. If you look up the word occult, it's unknown. They don't know where it comes from. So it's a human and a man that twisted it to be demonic. If you look at tarot's history, way back when tarot was really developed, it actually had more of an angelic and a lighter meaning. It is man that has twisted it. But the other thing with tarot is you can get anybody to research and learn and read tarot. That's not the empathic part at all. The empathic part is the person reading the tarot. Whether they're getting messages coming through, whether they're looking at it and telling a story, or just looking at the cards and telling a story, whether they're actually having intuition come through, somebody telling them something, they're getting downloads, they're getting plop thoughts, they're getting wisdom, whatever it is, that is the part of tarot that makes it tarot. Does that make sense? So as an empath, when I go to do, because people, I've already gotten hate mail. Oh, you're Christian and you're doing this and you're leading them down the wrong path. You're doing, no, my tarot is done in love and light. I'm not a psychic. I am clairvoyant, but I don't put that out there. If you're on a one-on-one with me, I would do that to a certain point. But because of free will and free choice, and the divine has given us that, I don't know which way you're going to go. So in my intuitive readings, I ask the divine as the source, help me guide Virgo, Capricorn, whatever for this week, blah, blah, blah. Give me the energies, give me the signs, give me whatever it is. I do this prior to the videos, and so that I can help guide for that week. So whatever person that is watching at the right time, at the right place, that's who that message is for. If I had 100,000 people watching it, there might be just one person that this message is for. The intuitiveness that's coming out is for that person. And that's where I get it. I don't get it from any other source. I don't get it from a demon. I don't get if I do have those dark energies starting to come in, and while you can't hear it, I'm getting those out. I am praying those out. They're not allowed in here at all. And then I have to go back and clean the room. But no, seriously, this is a gift. This is something that I am doing with the divine, and the divine is having me help someone. And hopefully that through the readings, through my intuitiveness, that whatever he chooses these cards to pop out, or whoever the resource he's sending my way to pop these cards out, just like Virgo, I was like, oh yeah, man, I'm really surprised that the Hangman didn't pop out, and boom, pop out Hangman in Virgos this week. So, I mean, I can't make this up. This is sent to me. And if you are an empath and you ever choose to come out, these are things that I wanted to share with you that you're going to have to face. Now, you could be a quiet empath and not say a word to anybody, and that's okay too. But that's sort of living in fear. So I would suggest, if you are an empath, a new empath, and you're fearful of the abilities, or you don't even know about the 8 different kinds and what kind you want, or what kind you expect you to be, because you can say that you're an intuitive empath, and that's it. But I'll tell you, the divine may give you a new one in the next day, the next week, or it may just, you'll wake up one morning and it's like, well, how did I know that? He'll give you new. When he knows you're ready, he'll give you a new awakening. Sometimes if he knows you cannot handle that, like my girlfriend, she has vision, but she has shut it down because she says it's a curse. If he knows that you can't handle that and you're not ready, he's going to back it out, because he's all about love and truth and light. He's not going to do something fearful. It's like in the biblical days, or people, if you look at videos that people have passed, the NDEs, the near-death experience, they've gone on to the other side and they've come back. As some of them will tell you that they talked to somebody, but they weren't fearful, because the divine will never give you something that you fear. Why would he? We don't really know what an angel looks like. Well, if you looked at Revelations, you'd be a little fearful what they really, really look like, because they ain't no just wings and a halo and all that kind of stuff. They're very interesting creature, but we would be fearful of them. Just like if an alien plopped down and stood in front of you and they got mangly teeth and all this kind of stuff, but in reality they may be nice, but we would be so fearful we wouldn't be able to handle it. That's what that's about. So the divine would never give you a gift, never give you something that he would overload you. You have to tell him that you're not ready. Or you get a coach, or you get a, I would tell you, you're going to have to get a supernatural counselor or a paranormal counselor. Even if you go back to video 1 and we talk about psychiatrists and counseling, and maybe I am going crazy kind of thing, go back to that number 1 and listen to that, and then that'll answer a lot of your questions. But you're going to be labeled. You're going to be alone. You're going to be questioning life, and you're going to be questioning your abilities. So this hopefully helped you get a little bit of idea, some tools and tips. I'm just going to say, in any question you have about it, meditate or prayer. I pray, and I pray nonstop, because I'm being bombarded all day long. That's why my daughter's like, oh, man, here she goes again. But I don't pray out loud. I pray even while I'm talking and sharing this. So, I mean, there's so much going on in my head that is supernatural that I have to really be mindful. And even dating's a challenge as an empath. Boy, that I should go into. And maybe that should be another video, because dating as an empath, that is so challenging as well. That's not a daily thing. Well, it is if you're in a dating situation, because now you're faced with a lot of different elements. And maybe that'll be a video outside of this series, because it's really, really important, because a lot of the people that watch this are younger. They're not older, because if they're older, they already understand what is going on in their life. So I hope this series was good for you. I hope at least you got some questions answered. And if you didn't, please, you can email me down below. If you want a coaching session, that can be one-on-one. That's the only thing that will cost you. Otherwise, if you go to the spiritual growth, there's lots of videos here. Go to Get Balance 2020, the spiritual growth, lots of videos there. Mental videos about your mind, how your mind works, videos there. And this is just a Get Balance 2020 is the umbrella of it. And this is all divine. This is all divine driven as of November of 2019. So this is all divine driven. Otherwise, you'd never see me on TV or in a picture at all. So I hope and bless, and hopefully your harvests and all your challenges are minimal. Your harvest and your blessings are abundant. And I talk to you soon. I got to get ready to do some readings here, some intuitive readings. So I do everything live. If you want to look at my intuitive readings, they are live from Tuesday through Friday. And depending on what's going on in the day, they're usually in the afternoons. If you hit the subscribe and hit the bell, you'll know everything that I am on live for. And I would love to see you come in and say where you're from, have a question, and you can ask anything as far as questions about empath, and maybe you have a question that you're struggling with. So I would love to see you. We will talk to you soon. And thank you for watching this series. I hope it helped. And any feedback would be great, or anything that you would like me to talk about or teach. I would love to do that. All right. Take care, guys.